Hello all, let's see the part 2 from biochemistry and clinical pathology. So some of the important question. Define the term biochemistry and state its importance in biochemistry. So the question mainly focuses on what is biochemistry and what is the use and scope of biochemistry. So what is biochemistry actually? In very simple terms, biochemistry is studying the chemical composition of the living organisms. We call it as biochemistry. So let's see the definition according to this. The study dealing with the chemistry of living organisms. In its different phases of activity, we call it as biochemistry. So coming to the significance of biochemistry. So why do we have to study biochemistry? So in the biochemistry, the main compounds are organic. So whatever the things that are available and produced inside the living organisms, we call it as organic compounds such as carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, amino acids, vitamins. So these things are available only in the living organisms. We are going to study entire in detail their chemical composition and their uses and their metallic association. So for some of the enzymes, the metals are very essential. The very important metal, as we know, is iron and calcium. So these things are very essential, and we are going to study about each and every element and each and every organic structure, enzymes, hormones, all its chemical composition in the biochemistry. So it deals with the study of living systems and its working. And next, study of nature and working of biomolecules, diagnosis of various metabolic disorders. So, what happens if iodine level increases? What happens if iodine level decreases? And what happens if iron increases, copper increases? Likewise, these are some of the examples. And study of various deficiency diseases, such as, for example, hypervitaminosis, which means increase of vitamin, or insufficient vitamin. For example, if we have vitamin A deficiency, then the person will have keratomalacia or nactalopia, which is night blindness. All these things because of deficiency. Kwashiorkor, marasmus, which is protein energy malnutrition. These things we are going to study under deficiency diseases, helping in synthesizing the new molecules such as glycogen, which is anabolic, and storage of lipids in our body. So, what happens when glucose is oxidized or reduced? So, reduction of glucose with hydrogen and platinum, so which gives sorbitol, as a carbonyl function gets reduced to alcohol. So, in glucose, the carbonyl group will reduce to alcohol, so then it gives sorbitol. So let's see the reaction glucose to sorbitol. How this happens? So this is actually oxidation of glucose. When it acts with bromine, it gives gluconic acid. When it acts with platinum, it gives glucuronic acid. When it acts with nitric acid, it gives glucosaccharic acid. So next, let's see the terms about anabolism and catabolism. So anabolism is actually building. So in our body, the with the use of energy, we are building the molecules. Then we call it as anabolic. When we are splitting the molecules to get energy, that we call it as catabolic. First, see what is anabolic, which is a biosynthetic phase. Means we are synthesizing the molecules with using the energy to construct or components of the cell, such as proteins, nucleic acids, glycogen, so lipids, all these things. Catabolic. This is a process with degradation of complex matter into simple form of molecules. So with release of energy, so we also call this as exothermic reaction because the heat is released in catabolic reactions, and metabolites that provides the metabolic fuel and building blocks for the cell. And anabolic we call it as endothermic reaction because the heat is being stored inside in the form of energy. In catabolic, which is exothermic, the heat is released outside. And let's see the functions of mitochondria. So we also call it as powerhouses of the cell. So for example, if we need power, we have electric stations like power stations. Likewise, if we need energy, so energy will be in the form of ATP. That ATP will be produced in mitochondria. So the oxidative phosphorylation, with using the oxygen, the number of ATP will be produced, and after the glycolysis completing in the cytoplasm, so the pyruvic acid which enters into mitochondria, and there it is converted to acetyl CoA, and that enters into the Krebs cycle. This whole thing will takes place in mitochondria. So in mitochondria, after the electron transport chain, then the ATP will be generated. This whole process we call it as oxidative phosphorylation. With the use of oxygen, ATP is generated. So that is oxidative phosphorylation, which is responsible for the transportation of chemical energy into biological energy in the form of ATP. So all enzymes involved in the Krebs cycle are present in the mitochondria. And endoplasmic reticulum, we call this as highways of the cell. So why we call it as highways of the cell is, so it is usually like a roadway, which there is a connection between the plasma membrane to the nuclear membrane. Sometimes from the plasma membrane it ends in the midway, or sometimes from the nuclear membrane it ends in the midway. So usually we have two types of endoplasmic reticulum: smooth endoplasmic reticulum and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum will produce the lipids. Metabolically that will produce the lipids, and rough endoplasmic reticulum carries the protein synthesis, because the rough endoplasmic reticulum means it has ribosomes on it, and which involves in the it usually makes the mechanical support by forming a skeletal network, and involves in the intracellular transport, and involves in the cellular metabolism. And also, as I told you, like it carries the protein synthesis as well as ATP synthesis also. So let's see the next question. Define and classify the carbohydrates. What is carbohydrates? So the hydrated carbon. So which is carbohydrates? Usually the main source of our food. So in our balanced diet, the major part is occupied by carbohydrates, and it gives an instant energy also. So which is glucose. So usually the importance of carbohydrates is, if we take glucose, that will readily absorbable from the stomach itself. That no need to go till the intestine, and from there it get absorbed. So from the in the stomach itself. So that's why for the instant energy we take glucose. So it may be defined as polyhydroxy, aldehyde or ketones, or compounds which produce them on hydrolysis. By splitting, it may produce aldehyde or ketone groups. So let's see the classification. So the carbohydrates are divided into these categories: sugars, which we call it as saccharides, and non-sugars, polysaccharides. First one is sugars, saccharides. So in the saccharides we have monosaccharides. Again the monosaccharides are divided based on the number of carbon atoms, like trioses, tetroses, pentoses and hexoses. Trioses are glycerose, tetroses are erythrose. D means dextrose actually. So trioses having 3 carbon compound, which is glycerose, and tetroses will be having dextroerythrose having 4 carbon compound, and pentoses will be having 5 carbon compound, that is D-ribose, and hexoses will be having 6 carbon compound, for example glucose, fructose. Depending on the functional group, we have if it is aldehyde group, then it is aldose. For example, glucose. If it has ketone group, then we call it as ketones. Then example is fructose. Next, disaccharide. Disaccharides are having 2 compounds, like lactose, which is a combination of glucose and galactose, and maltose, which is a combination of glucose and glucose, and sucrose, which is a combination of glucose and fructose, which is a ketone group. And coming to oligosaccharides, raffinose and maltotriose. So these are oligosaccharides having few monosaccharide units. So 3 to 10 monosaccharide units. So next, non-sugars. Non-sugars we call it as polysaccharides. So these are of two types, homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. Homopolysaccharides are made up of same type of monosaccharide units, such as, for example, so consider starch and cellulose, which are made up of glucose. Starch is the reserve material for plants and cellulose which helps for the cell wall. And next, heteropolysaccharide having different types of monosaccharide units. For example, hyaluronic acid, so which helps for blood clotting. So not anticoagulant, which is actually anticoagulant. And let's see here. So here we have the structure of glucose in this. So this structures we have to practice. So if you practice 2 to 3 times, it will be easy only. And next, mutarotation. So mutarotation means changing the specific rotation. So on standing aqueous solution of sugar is known as mutarotation. So when monosaccharide is dissolved in water, the optical rotation will gradually changes until it reaches a constant value. That is, for example, a freshly prepared of alpha D glucose has a specific rotation of plus 112 degrees. And a standing specific rotation, it falls when it dissolved in water, it falls to plus 52.5 degrees and remain constant at this value. And the final stage can be obtained more quickly either by heating or adding some catalyst. So what happens by adding some catalyst like acid and alkali? It will again change the rotation. This change in specific rotation we call it as mutarotation. So fresh solution of beta D glucose has the rotation value of plus 19 degrees. So which on standing also changes to plus 52.5 degrees. So here you can see, for example, alpha D glucose. So plus 112 degrees. And it will be converted to D glucose, dextrose glucose, which is plus 52.5 degrees. So again this beta D glucose will be again come back to from plus 19 to plus 52.5 degrees. So this changing we call it as mutarotation. So fructose also will exhibit the mutarotation. In case of fructose, the pyranose ring, which is actually 6-membered, is converted to furanose, which is 5-membered ring, until the equilibrium got attained. And next, epimerism. Epimerism is actually the change in the configuration, difference in configuration around single specific carbon, that we call it as epimerism. For example, between glucose and galactose, so the hydrogen and hydroxide will be changed only there will be a difference only on 4th carbon. When you see glucose and mannose, the difference will be only on the 2nd carbon. So the interconversion of epimers is known as epimerization or epimerism. And a group of enzymes, namely epimerases, catalyze this reaction. So just remind, glucose and galactose, it is 4th carbon. Glucose and mannose, it is 2nd carbon. So if the two monosaccharides differs from each other in the configuration around a single specific carbon other than an anomeric carbon, so which is referred to as epimers of each other. So glucose and galactose are epimers with regard to carbon 4. They differ in the arrangement of OH group at 4th carbon. So coming to the glucose and mannose with regard to 2nd carbon. So epimerases are the enzymes which helps in the conversion. So you can see this picture, D-galactose and D-glucose. In the 4th carbon, the configuration got changed. And between glucose and mannose, in the 2nd carbon, the configuration got changed here. So let's see the role of lipids in biological membrane. So usually on the biological membrane, the lipids are phospholipids. So the major component of the biological membrane is phospholipids. We have heads towards the outer and inner side. In the middle region, we have the tail. So phospholipids have two chains of the hydrocarbons of fatty acids. So the chains are hydrophobic, and have the strong polar group, and phosphate at the third carbon of glycerol. When phospholipids are added to the aqueous medium, so they will form the micelles actually, which is monolayer and bilayer depending on the concentration of phospholipids. The hydrophilic and hydrophobic interaction of the phospholipids is forming bilayer in water. So the hydrophobic tails are hidden from the aqueous environment to form an. So internally it was hydrophobic. Externally the heads will be hydrophilic. So this bilayer system is extensively studied as fluid mosaic model also. So Singer and Nicholson fluid mosaic model. So this bilayer arrangement, all these things will be studied. So here you can see in this picture, this was head, which is hydrophilic, and the tail portion is hydrophobic. Head is polar and tails are non-polar. So this is phospholipid layer. This is the arrangement of the lipid layer on the membrane. And these are micelles. When in the water, the phospholipid layer will form the small micelles. This is actually monolayer at air and water interface. So this is actually the fluid mosaic model, which was explained by Singer and Nicholson. So biomembranes are made up of phospholipids, lipoproteins, glycoproteins and proteins. All these components are assembled together by non-covalent interactions. Okay, let's see some of the other important questions in the coming video. So if you have any doubts, please put